Marcus, it's really, really awesome to have you on. I've followed the Fire University podcast and, haven't watched as many as I'd like to yet, but it's really cool. And it's been great seeing some of the stuff you put out on Twitter as well. So I'm really, really happy to have you on. And if you're cool with it, we'll go straight into the bio and then let you tell us about yourself.
Sounds great. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, all right, cool. All right, well, so Dr. Marcus Lashley is an assistant professor of wildlife ecology and conservation at the University of Florida, where he is director of the D.E.E.R lab, and that's short for Disturbance, Ecology, Disturbance, Ecology, and Ecological Restoration. Marcus also hosts the Fire University podcast, which I mentioned, and it's really good. Lesser known facts about Marcus are that he was literally born with a fishing pole and hunting rifle in his hands, and he was raised by the elusive Alabamian wolves, who prepared him for wildlife and disturbance ecology. So with that, I'm very excited to chat with Dr. Marcus Wolfman Lashley. And so if you want to start, just tell us about who you are and what you do, and you can go back as far as your early raising with the wolves or, as recent as you like.
All right. Well, I don't know what to say. You pretty much covered it all.
I started at the beginning.
Yeah, I really appreciate that introduction. And that, that was funny. For everybody out there, if you don't know that, I had not heard that before. So that's funny. The Alabamian wolves.
Mm-hmm.
Are those red wolves or gray wolves?
I think they're red. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so
they're elusive, right?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I haven't gotten a single one on a camera trap yet. Yeah, so I grew up hunting and fishing, and I don't think I was born with a fishing pole in my hand, but I definitely grabbed one. It was one of the first few items.
Yep.
And growing up in rural Alabama, it really set me on track for everything I do in my life and everything I care about. My parents and my grandparents, my friends, extended family, everyone was really engaged in the outdoors, and I naturally was as well. Another thing a fun fact about me, I was actually doing little backyard experiments and stuff when I was like a little kid outside doing that, just instinctually, because I just wanted to know what's the best thing to fish with in this pond, right? I was doing little experiments like that, and my mom has all these really crazy pictures of me, man. You should see my do. The hairdos that I have are pretty awesome. But I was rolling over logs and stuff to see what all kinds of little critters are in there, all those sorts of things. And really looking back on it now, I just realized that there's no other place on this planet that I need to be than right here where I am. Talking about wildlife conservation, habitat, doing experiments for a living. It's like, wait a minute, people are going to pay me to do what I was doing as a little kid.
Yeah.
just because now people are going to pay me to do that. That's pretty awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, from a very young age, I was passionate about wildlife ecology and management because of hunting and fishing. And that led me on this path to where I am now. And I work on fire ecology a great deal, but other types of disturbances as well. And I'm passionate about wildlife conservation. And I think the passion for wildlife conservation is why I have kind of steered into this focus on fire ecology, or this strong presence, I guess, in that realm. And it's because a lot of the species if you go and look at species of conservation concern in the eastern United States, a lot of them are fire dependent or at least fire assisted species. And another thing, I work a lot with game species, and part of that is because I grew up hunting and fishing, and that was my entryway into it. And I think that helps me to relate with a lot of people.
Yeah,
but there's also funding available for those species, so it supports my program through the Pittman-Robertson Act, for instance. With these excise taxes and other funding mechanisms make some of the things that I'm interested in fundable, but it also allows me to extend those things to private landowners, which, if you didn't know, in the eastern U.S., about 95% or so, I think, of land is privately owned. Wow. So the idea was, I could get funding to do something I know a lot about, that people care about, that own the land, that they can then implement the things that I'm doing to try to hopefully make things better from a wildlife conservation standpoint. And particularly with a practice like fire, I work on things to show how you can enhance game species habitat, which will obviously trickle in to affect a whole suite of species, many of which are not doing well. So that's kind of the idea, is that I use that as a conduit. And I also have had this strong drive, and I think this is something important for people to know about me and just to reflect on as whoever you're watching. If I'm assuming this is probably scientists watching this, but to reflect on, why are you doing what you're doing? And if nobody knows about it, does it matter? Right? This is about knowledge gain. And to me, knowledge isn't actually gained unless you get it into other people's head. So that's kind of what has morphed into the D.E.E.R lab program, the UF D.E.E.R lab. And I have a really strong emphasis on communication, science communication. So we're doing science, we're trying to publish it in high impact ecological journals, and then turn that message into something that's digestible for landowners that could directly use it, and then turn the message again into something that an inner city kid that's in 6th grade might think is cool.
Yeah,
it's about awesome. Getting science into everybody's head. And to me, I want people to be able to use it directly, or at least have a strong appreciation for nature and how delicate it is, and how we can do things to help.
Yeah, that's awesome. That was really good. I don't even know. I mean, I want to tell you, for one, I share that passion, obviously, getting the message out, and the passage. I grew up in Oklahoma, and central Oklahoma is, cross timbers, post oak, blackjack, little dabble of hickory in there. And, that's that was my escape, that's where I would be, just all the time. And so I definitely, that resonates with me. But like you said, there's kids who that doesn't resonate with, they didn't have that opportunity. So it's really cool that you're talking about the whole pipeline and all the feeders into that pipeline and out of it. And, how do you reach the broad audience, as well as make sure scientists kind of get on board too. And I think that's really cool. Yeah, that's awesome. So I do want to tell you, I had an auspicious morning. Whenever I was driving on my way home, a turkey crossed the road, and I know you do work with turkeys.
Easy research. Now.
Yeah, no, not that way. No. I mean, I know you do research with like actual the bird, the fowl, turkey. So that's what I mean. Just to clarify. And then when I logged into this,
that's the way I took it, just to clarify.
Oh, okay. Well, and when I logged into this computer, randomly generates like some nature image, and it happened to be a white-tailed deer, and I was like, man, I'm about to talk with a guy who, runs the deer lab, and it's focused a lot on like disturbance and how it affects turkey and deer. So, yeah, I knew it was going to be good. And I'm glad you just kind of like gave me everything I needed right there in one swath. But I do have like several lines of questioning that, just come up immediately whenever you started talking about it. Cause you're kind of, okay, cool. You're kind of like the nexus of like, everything. When we think it, for one, and I will say it makes sense that your Twitter handle is Dr. Disturbance. By the way, that's awesome. Like, kudos for getting it and kudos for thinking of it. But it is, it's like so much of like the wildlife that we like to hunt and fish, or which, one of the lines was, that's such a cool thing that you brought up, because a lot of people don't know that, especially people that follow science but maybe aren't as much in the know about how much hinges upon human interaction now to keep that ecology going. Because we created maybe this disturbance in the first place of removing those carnivores or whatever to keep kind of that natural order. So that's a whole nother thing that I want to talk to you about. But bringing it back to kind of disturbance and how that affects the wildlife that you've studied in the past. What is the disturbance that you're seeing in like your area that's needed that hasn't been there or was taken away? What are kind of some treatments that you're testing and some research that you're doing on what types of disturbance and affecting what types of creatures or plant communities or whatever?
Yeah, so that's hard to answer, and I think it's because I don't know if when you called me I'm at the nexus, that seems like you're kind of calling me a singularity, or if you're into
you're putting lots of stuff. Putting lots of stuff in my mouth that I'm not saying. Making me a villain.
Yeah, I know. No, hey, by the way, that was what some of my closest friends and colleagues said when I got at Dr. Disturbance. They were like, "You sound like a supervillain, man."
Yeah. It's like a Bond villain, or it's like supervillain. Sure.
Yeah. Well, so the point of that was, I mean, and it shows. I have people literally email me, and or I meet them somewhere. That's not so much in these times, but people know my Twitter handle and do not know my name. So that's kind of the point. Like, they know who I am and they associate me with that Twitter handle, but they don't know my name. Yeah. So that was kind of what I had. A couple of options, and that was the one that I thought would just stick in people's head. And that's the point. And it's not coming from a vain thing. We are in a time when we need to communicate science like no other time for lots of different reasons. And, if you go and look at our social media or whatever, we're sharing everybody's stuff that's relevant to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's because it's about the resource, and we want to get science out to people. And I don't think that we focus on that enough. So I don't like being in front of people, and I certainly don't like being a target, but I often become one because I am actively trying to do this all the time. And I talk about, like on Fire U, we just had one about burning during turkey nesting, and then you want to talk about becoming a target. That was it. People don't like what I have to say about that. But it still has to be said. So now what am I working on? So I work on a couple of different things. You got me off into a tangent talking about the nexus. I work a lot with fire because, especially in Florida, but in the southeastern United States, and then most of the communities, I mean, even globally, terrestrial communities are, a lot of them are fire dependent or fire influenced to some degree. And I just, particularly from a wildlife conservation standpoint, I felt like I could make a big impact there. And that's why I do stuff on that. And I have lots of interesting angles that I'm taking on it, where I'm trying to intentionally ask questions that are cool from an ecological standpoint. So for instance, I'll do a lot of stuff with indirect effects in ecosystems, and just like, you have fire occur and that changes the behavior of wildlife and how they interact with plants, which then changes how plant communities assemble indirectly, right? So fire affects community assembly of plants indirectly because of the way it affects wildlife. And to me, that's a really cool idea. But the average landowner doesn't resonate with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm asking that question in that way because we can impact science and our understanding of the system most, at least from my viewpoint, most effectively that way. But then taking that same thing and, let's just say, like I had one example, I did this thing called bow range burning. And I knew like fall, there are a couple of things. One, with fire, there's a lot of people there's a barrier there, right? It's a daunting idea that you would go and apply fire to your, to a bunch of land if you haven't done that before, and, training and everything to do that. But a lot of people are just scared of it, right? And part of that fear is coming from spatial scale, thinking that the only way they could make a difference is to light the whole county on fire.
Right.
And that the idea with that experiment is we were looking at spatial scale dependence and herbivore response to the fire. And we scaled it all the way down to a 30-meter radius, which coincidentally is about the range that you would shoot a bow if you were bow hunting deer.
Oh, yeah.
So
okay.
that's an example. We published that, this scale dependent thing, but then I couched it on social media as bow range burning. And it was basically showing landowners that you could scale down to a facetiously small scale.
Yeah.
And still have a noticeable positive impact on the species that you're interested in.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, that's
So
super
that's like,
cool. Yeah.
We're trying to integrate that ecology. So that's the way that my lab is thinking. All the students, I have a communication specialist that works in the lab, and we're all thinking about this constantly. How do we publish this in Ecology and also get a landowner to want to use it? And then we have another big thrust at the same time to try to get people who are not engaged in nature to care about it.
Yeah.
And that's the more challenging part, I think.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, it certainly would be. Man, that is really cool thinking about. Yeah, it is facetiously small, area to burn, but yeah, I mean, like, what an impact that makes. Absolutely, it really drives home that point that. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Fire is terrifying to a lot of people. It was terrifying to me before I saw a prescribed burn. And, and then it was actually kind of terrifying when I saw the prescribed burn, but it wasn't, until after that you really see the effects and you see all of that. And what a great idea to drive home that point for a landowner, for sure. That's awesome.
Well, and I don't know how many emails, but and calls, and apparently Instagram messaging is the way everybody communicates these days.
Oh yeah.
That was a couple of years ago, and I still get emails saying, "Hey, I'm burning now. I started bow range burning and I scaled up. Now I'm doing, something that's actually meaningful from a habitat standpoint." It was a barrier that allowed people to get comfortable with it and start doing that. And, a lot of scientists looked at that and they were like, "What are you doing? Like that's not a reasonable approach." And it's like, it was a very strategic thing, right? You can show their scale dependence there, and we're getting down to this ridiculously small thing, but it's still pretty impressive that our wildlife species are so tightly linked to fire that you can burn a 30-meter radius and they all still have a magnet effect to that fire.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah. So tell me just
So
briefly, like about the magnet effect that you talked about, because I saw, I think it was for one, you made it, or the Deer Lab, somebody made a post with a great image of like all the dead insects and just invertebrates in general that are laying there after a burn, and it said like, how do you attract a turkey or whatever it
right.
said. And then I also heard you talk on the
Yeah.
podcast about it too. And like, so what are some of those magnet effects? Like you burn it and you're seeing like dead critters. That's what's going on for the turkeys? And then for the deer, is it the the vegetation that comes back?
Yeah, you're right on it. To me, I don't understand why some of them do it, honestly, but I have a student right now who is working on songbirds, and we're looking at the indirect effects of fire on plant community assembly because of the way it affects birds.
Huh. Okay. Yeah.
And I can't reconcile exactly what they're doing in there, but what I do
Yeah.
know is essentially every species that we look at, they all respond that way, where you have fire, and for turkeys it's literally the day of. They're looking for smoke on the horizon. I'm certain of
Wow.
that. Like
Wow.
they can't smell very well, so they've got to be seeing smoke and going to it. That's all I can figure, because if you burn and there are turkeys, they're going to be in that tomorrow.
Wow. That's
And
cool.
they often will roost in it, in the smoke, and bask. They'll bask in the smoke that night while they
Wow.
roost on the tree limb.
That's pretty cool.
They're tightly linked to it. So in terms of what's going on with turkeys, yeah, I made a post, and it was just making that point pretty strong to people. And right now it's turkey season, so turkeys are on people's mind. But yeah, you think about what's happening in that community. You removed the dead plant material by and large. You've also top killed a lot of the plants, which is a very important part of the process. Both of those, we're basically resetting succession, and depending on the timing of fire and how frequent it is, you can alter the community composition. That can be extremely important, and in fact even critical for some wildlife species. So that's happening. But for the magnet effect, with turkeys, for instance, we're exposing seeds in the environment. They're laying around. The picture I put online was of acorns that had been cooked. There was also a snail shell in that picture. We have a lot of critters like that can't get away from the fire, and they feed higher things in the food chain. So there are a lot of insects like that are getting outright killed by it. It's pretty rare for wildlife, like vertebrates in particular, to be killed by fire, but it's really common for insects and stuff. So the other thing that I think is interesting is, and has basically not been studied as far as I can tell, we cook our food, right?
Yeah.
Because it helps with a lot of things like digestibility.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing I've been thinking about. I haven't really figured out how to study it because I'm just not clever enough to. But I had this idea that one of the reasons it might be so attractive is because all of the things are not only dead and easy to catch and find because they're all exposed and laying around, but they've also been cooked, which might help even with digestibility. So that's kind of cool. But then, pretty quickly in some systems within a few days, but commonly within a couple of weeks, we start having green up and this flush of vegetation. And that vegetation is extremely high quality in terms of the nutritional composition. And you see things like herbivores, like deer or whatever, are super attracted to that pulse in the vegetation, but so are insects, right? We've got a lot of herbivorous insects. In fact, we may be removing just as much or more biomass through herbivory from insects as we are from vertebrates. And you sort of have these recurring pulses that happen after fire. So you have the initial pulse, and then green up, that's a pulse in and of itself, which then has a pulse in insects. And then you often have a pulse in seeding from a lot of different fire dependent plants. So it's sort of like these waves of resource pulses that occur after it. And it's so awesome to me to think about that. And you see wildlife resource track, and that's essentially what's happening is they're resource tracking. And then you get a little later in it, and then all of a sudden, a year out from fire, we have really good nesting cover for things that ground nest or nest in the understory vegetation. So, it's just, that's one thing that's really fascinating to me, is it one practice is literally like affecting the whole system.
Yeah.
And it's just been fascinating with me.
Yeah, so. No, I completely share that fascination for one. Sometimes I think, unfortunately, I study, effects, or not effects really, but I study, that, how can we reconstruct the history of fire through tree rings, right? And so the application is, I'm not the applied, scientist, and but that's really cool to see those. I mean, we think in terms real easily, like it used to be. I remember, when keystone species, that was like, everybody's focus, like, let's find the keystone species, which you should, and we still do, right? Mm-hmm. But I mean, keystone disturbance, right? Like that's immediate effects, like you said, like a turkey is literally going and basking in the smoke. That's awesome. That's really cool. And then seeing those, you got the herbs come up, and then you've got the herbivores come right in after, and then the carnivores right in after. That's really cool. I like that.
It's like a community succession driven by fire. And I think, I use turkeys as an example, but it's essentially the whole community. Anything that eats seeds or fruits or insects, which is pretty much everything, right?
Yeah.
Or vegetation, right?
Right.
That's pretty much all of them. So, I was given the example of turkeys, but to me, it's cool that it's you're affecting the whole community. And I think an important thing for everybody to realize with that is that when you said something that made me think of this, these communities are fire dependent, right? If you take fire out, that's actually the disturbance from a true disturbance ecology standpoint.
Right.
The disturbance is removing fire, which we have actively tried to do for a long time. And the community will succeed into an alternative stable state without fire in it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that applies very widely.
Yeah. So, no, that's good. That's really good. I like flipping that, over on its head, because that, you're right. I mean, like when you think in terms of longer scale, fire is a disturbance right then and there. Yeah, that's like run for your life, or dig or burrow or fly, whatever it is. But on longer scales, us removing fire for 100 years, whenever fire used to happen every year or every couple of years, in patches. Yeah, that's a really good way to look at it for sure. Can we get into some fun questions? Because I've got several.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. I don't want you to get away without answering some of these. I'm going to hold you to them. Okay.
Oh, no. I'm not letting you get out that easy.
Okay. Okay, so the first question that I always start off with is, what is your favorite tree?
Favorite tree? Do you know how many trees there are?
there's
I'm
a few
asking
thousand,
you because
right?
I don't actually know. I actually don't know. I was asking you. For me, I thought about this. For me, I'd have to say common persimmon.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
And it's because the tree, that tree is so widely adaptable. I see it in lake beds, below the high water mark, which is one of the only trees that does that. And then I'll find it on xeric ridges.
Yeah.
And everywhere in between. And, it has a really beautiful wood, which I know that you're familiar with. Because I look at your tree cookies on Twitter just about every day. so and it's also a really adaptable wood. You can make a lot of cool stuff out of it, like golf club heads, for instance.
Yeah.
So I like that. It also is dioecious, which I think is just wild that there
Yeah.
would be sexes in trees. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it is.
And it also it's also has a really fun fruit. If you give it to somebody who's unsuspecting before it's ripe, they'll get
Yeah.
cotton mouth and they
Pucker up.
that's funny.
Yeah.
But it also but the other thing is it's also my favorite fruit to eat, and it's
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
because
Okay.
it's one of the highest sugar content
Yeah. Yeah.
of all of them. Another thing that's pretty wild about it, if you go and look in the scat, I mean, like the thing that jumps out at me is coyote.
Yeah.
But you go look in scat, man, the scat, if it's something that will eat fruit and there are persimmons around, it's got persimmon seeds in it, and that
Yeah.
makes me happy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd have to go with that one just because I can't think of any other species I'd have that many cool things to say about.
Yeah, no, you had a lot of cool things to say about it, and I like that. Persimmon, its bark is so cool; it just jumps out at you, and
Yeah,
there's like
the
alligator
alligator
juniper.
bark.
Yeah, alligator juniper. Like everybody, people in the West know about that, but this is our alligator juniper. In the East, well, Central for me,
Mhm.
but yeah, for sure, it's a cool tree. It's one of my favorites for sure. Yeah, I've got like. Well, I don't know how many, but I've got like 8 or 9 back here, and I love them. Yeah, so that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really
we share a
cool.
lot of the same passions. Okay, so oh yeah, I don't know why I'm looking these up. I know these questions. Your favorite fireside food or beverage? Food and beverage.
Food and beverage, or food or beverage?
Let's go with both if you can muster it.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna keep it PC.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm gonna have to go with those mushroom or marshmallows that are like flattened out now that they have that fit
Oh yeah.
perfectly on a graham cracker.
Yeah, the cheating
I mean,
marshmallows.
yeah, I like well, it just made me think of that. I'm not necessarily fond of that one, but those big giant marshmallows that you could stick on a stick and stick in there?
Yeah.
Like a roasted marshmallow, it's hard to beat that. Now, I
Yeah.
like a s'more, okay? That's fine, but I'd really rather not taint my marshmallow with all that other stuff.
Yeah. Well, maybe one day if you can make it out here, I'll get some big marshmallows and some ripe persimmons for you, and we can try a persimmon marshmallow.
I could probably make it out there for that.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I do the drink.
Oh yeah.
I've really got into this. I've really gotten into this kick where I've been trying to brew my own kombucha.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And I just had this flash before me, this epiphany when you were talking right then that I need to have some persimmon kombucha.
Yeah. Nice.
Look out. Hey, that would be good.
We're proving your point. When you get the science out there and you start talking, like, you get the best ideas, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. And brewing is a science. So, you got a lot going right here.
Yeah, all right. Exactly.
we need to have more of these discussions. All right.
For sure.
So in honor of you being Dr. Disturbance and being in Florida with just tons and tons of lightning strikes causing fires, we're gonna do the lightning speed round. I don't know how speedy it'll be if we have a lag, but let's see. I think it may have gotten a little bit better. All right.
Are we getting late on the time? Have I been long-winded?
No, we're good. This is just, we keep, I try to keep it brief, because, people can only see me for so long. So, this is what we do. All right.
Well, I was going to say, if you got people to watch me for longer than a minute, you need to tell me what you're doing.
Bribes. I pay lots of people. No, I'm just kidding. This is your speed round, okay? So you're gonna answer this as quickly as you can, but we have a lag, so we'll just answer it. You don't have to be even fast, okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Within reason.
Yeah, within reason. All right. So green or blue?
Green.
Go to the dentist or doctor checkup?
Doctor.
Hunt or fish?
Hunt.
Oh, okay. I thought that one would take longer, but that was good. All right. One of these can exist. One cannot, okay? So which one could exist? Turkeys or deer?
Turkeys.
All right, again, only one can exist. Pines or oaks?
Oaks.
Okay. Hunting dog or lap dog?
Lap dog.
Okay. Staycation or vacation?
Tripped you up on that one.
Yeah, you did. I know. I was like, oh, okay. All right, let's go with it. All right, staycation or vacation?
Vacation.
Okay, cool. University of Florida or University of Mississippi State?
That goes without saying.
Okay,
University of Florida.
I thought you weren't going to say, and then you're just going to get off, smooth, not having to answer. But yeah, okay, you committed. Good job. Host a podcast or be a guest on a podcast?
Host.
They're kind of the same, aren't they? A host. Okay,
that one's tricky because
I know. Yeah. You're not quite as in the hot seat as a host, are you?
It's often more fun. Say that again.
You're not quite as in the hot seat when you're the host.
Yeah, that's actually, it's more fun to be the guest.
Yeah.
I like that better. But I don't always get to say everything I want to.
Yeah. Sure.
Or I don't get to drive the conversation where I think it needs to go always. So sometimes I like being the host better because of that. But
okay,
you made me that makes sense. I don't know.
That makes sense. No. Okay. Well, what is the best way? Oh, thanks. First of all, you did awesome. All the right answers. So I'll send you the prize in the mail. Checks in the mail kind of deal. All right. So
nice.
to kind of wrap up, I want to make sure that. Oh yeah, I'll do that. Even if you have your own, I'll send you some Oklahoma flavor. Okay, so if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to do so? How do you want them to do that?
Probably through social media. So it's at Dr. Disturbance or at D.E.E.R Lab.
Okay. All right,
so
cool.
Either of those get a hold of me. The email kind of gets blown out real quick. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. I imagine it does.
I'm not as good about that one.
I'll make sure that we link, everything in the description to the D.E.E.R Lab, to your Dr. Disturbance, and anything else that you feel is relevant. If there's some extensions or if there's anything at all, just shoot that to me later, and I'll put a link in there. So because it's really cool work that you're doing. For one, the research is awesome. So anybody watching, look it up and get to reading, get that highlighter out or whatever you're doing. And the other thing is just the podcast. Check out Fire University. Sorry, it's really good, and I've learned a lot already. And I've only watched like 3 of them, so there's quite a few of them out now. So
yeah.
All right.
Well, actually, I'm a PI on the Natural Resource University Network. So there's a network of podcasts. So if you don't want to think about fire and you want to think about other natural resources, we have several hosted within that.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I'm only the one talking on Fire U.
Okay.
But I am the PI or one of the PIs on the Natural Resource University, which has several topic areas.
Okay, so Natural Resource University. Well, I'll make sure I link that too. That way, if people could care less about fire, which they should care about fire, then they could go check out the other stuff too. That's awesome. Okay, well,
Yeah, well,
Marcus,
we've got just.
Oh, go ahead. We're not. I'm not. I don't mean to rush you. We're good.
No, well, there's a couple of things. One, I was going to tell people what the different topics are, and then what's coming, because that's growing. The other thing is, if you don't ask me what my favorite cartoon is and all that, I was going to be a little disappointed.
All right. Let's take it from the top here. Okay. So, what is Marcus Lashley's favorite cartoon?
So I thought about this for a minute, and that's why I was like, wait, you're not going to ask me about that?
You put all this effort into it. You're just like shooing me off.
Man, I had to.
No. Like I want everybody to have the opportunity to be them, like, so get it out there. It's cool.
No, I don't think anybody would have thought of this one except me, which is just giving you a little insight into me. But you remember that show, Pinky and the Brain?
Yeah, Animaniacs, right?
Yeah, that's your favorite. That was good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
And my favorite character is
you
Pinky.
as an You're yeah. Pinky's awesome.
No, well, it's just like, well, actually, the brain. You got to appreciate this little mouse, man, or rat or whatever. Yeah. He's trying to take over the world. I'm not trying to take over the world. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying you got to appreciate that passion and drive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to appreciate like what he's trying to do. It's bigger than him, and I can appreciate that. And I think a little bit of passion and drive has helped a lot of good stuff happen.
Yeah, that's cool. And man, it really shows your creativity to draw on such a cartoon, distinguished cartoon as Pinky and the Brain, to pull that out. That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've always loved it. And I was like, why do I like that so much? I don't. That's
okay. Well, let's see. How about, I don't know have you thought of answers to all of these?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You can ask me whatever you want, or we can quit. Cool. If y'all are tired of listening to what I have to say, we can quit too.
No, no way, man. I'm holding you to it now. All right. So what is if you could pick who would play you in a movie, who would you pick?
I thought about this a lot, and I was kind of torn.
Okay.
I was like, wait, is it the old version of them or the young version of them? So I was like, I thought of Jack Nicholson for one, and I was like, nah, I'd probably go with Galifianakis.
Oh, Zach Galifianakis? Yeah. All right. Oh God, you're full of surprises, man. This is awesome.
I appreciate that guy's humor.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So like he does the Between Two Ferns, or did you ever watch that?
Yeah. I don't remember any of it, but I do.
No, yeah. I know. But so whenever I first started this idea, I was thinking that it was going to be Between Two Trees or something like that. And I was going to have like a real cheesy, set. And, and honestly, I probably should have done it because indoors I have got a little bit better reception, for internet and everything like that. But yeah, maybe that'll be a spinoff. Maybe that'll be like post-COVID. Post-COVID, I'll be able to have guests come on and we'll sit between two trees. All right. Eating persimmons. That's going to be the first show.
Yeah.
All right.
No.
All right.
I will watch that show.
All right, cool. All right, let's see.
That's good stuff.
Oh, what genre would this movie be that either Nicholson or Galifianakis would play?
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's one of those old kung fu movies right now. You always got to keep fighting, but your lips are out of sync, and there's like all this. Got to keep
Oh
pushing
God, that's
through.
awesome. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, man, you're keeping me surprised. Okay, let me see here. I've got to pull up my list now because I changed it because I was trying to tailor it, and then like you shocked me because I was like, oh, I thought this was gonna be like hit me with all the science stuff, and you're like, no, I do that for a living. Like, let's ask some easy questions here. All right. All right.
Hey,
So how about
hey,
what is your
let me tell you something, Joe. And
okay.
hang on, we got a delay. Sorry,
Yeah,
folks.
go ahead. I'll wait.
I'm sure that you are just like most of us that got into this field because we're passionate about it and it's fun, right? There's no reason we can't talk about science and have fun at the same time. So
That's right.
that's the way I think about all of this. And that's sort of like the lab motto is to, ecology should be fun. So if we're not having fun, then we're not doing it right. We need to do something else.
No, I like that. That's really good. I agree with that. That's awesome. All right. So back to the list here. What is your favorite science or life quote?
Ooh, the life quote one.
It can be and or. It can
one of them that's been my favorite for. Yeah, they're kind of the same, I guess.
Okay.
I'm trying not to butcher it. There was a famous scientist who said something along the lines of, not only is it more complex than we think, it's more complex than we can think.
Oh yeah. Who said that?
I like that quote. I can't remember, man. It was somebody famous.
Yeah.
It wasn't me.
Yeah. No, yeah. All right. Yeah, no, I know I've heard that for sure. And I'm sure somebody would just think, oh, don't they know it's so and so? But I don't remember. But yeah, it's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
It sounds like a Carl Sagan thing or something.
If you know who it is, then leave a comment.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. All right. Who's been most influential in your life?
There's another one too.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
There's one. It actually is from my favorite book, and it was by Fred Provenza. And he said that the universe is a buffet eating itself. And I was like, I love that quote.
That's pretty cool. So, okay. So what's your favorite book?
That was Fred Provenza, and it was called Nourishment.
Nourishment.
And you want to absolutely blow your mind with how like nutrition works and how the body knows what nutrients to seek and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Will absolutely blow your mind.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. That's really cool.
The last book. Yeah, that wasn't the last book that I read. I think that was one of your other questions. The last book that I read was Sand County Almanac, actually, by
Aldo Leopold.
I read that for by Aldo Leopold. I read I have my class read that every semester, and I also read it so that it's fresh on my mind. Which is a great book to have to read twice a year.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's definitely one of my
makes you reflect on your land ethic.
Yeah. Leopold, he was the one that introduced.
Fun fact.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Tell me the fun fact.
Yeah, no, he introduced the land ethic. Yeah, that's not the fun fact though. I did my academic lineage one time, and my academic lineage, I'm four. I don't know what that'd be called, but I'm 4 down from Aldo, directly to him.
Whoa, that's cool. So, do you remember off the top of your head?
Aldo's student was the.
Yeah, go ahead. That's what I was asking.
I'm sorry, I missed whatever you said.
No, that's what I was saying. Do you remember the order that it went in?
So it would go from me to Craig Harper to I'm forgetting the first name. It's Low. Yeah, I can't remember the intermediate one.
Yeah.
You put me on the spot. My name recognition, by the way, is horrible. Zoom has been a really good thing for me for that reason, because people's name is stamped there all the time.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, my name recollection is really bad. It's Jessalo. Yeah, so it'd be, wait, and that's the wrong order. It would go from me, Craig Harper, Eric Boland, Jessalo, Aldo Leopold.
Wow. Man, that's pretty cool. Yeah, although Leopold, that book, man, that's definitely one of my favorites. I love like it, that concept, the land ethics, and yeah, I mean, like I wish they would teach that in schools for like kindergartners instead of Johnny Appleseed. I know that may alienate people, but I know in Johnny Appleseed is like easy. It's, this funny man with a pot on his head and go around planting seeds all over. But, he was a very not safe for children kind of guy. And I would really love to see like some real heroes, in conservation and stuff step in there. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. There for a minute, I thought you were describing my uncle.
Oh yeah, I've got a couple of those too. So, oh, that's fantastic.
That's hilarious.
Okay, what have I missed on the questions? Because like I told you, I skipped some of them off my list.
Yeah. Let's see. Favorite scientist? I think that's the only one.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh, and then who has been most influential?
Mm-hmm.
Favorite scientist? Well, of course, that is Joe Buck.
Oh, man. Awesome. Yeah, nice. Yeah, he's probably
been
my favorite too.
Yeah. I also thought about Bill Nye, and I was like, no, I can't be that guy. Yeah, it'd probably be Albert Einstein, because like some of the stuff that one of my PhD students is working on right now, we're trying to integrate some of the gravity theory into it,
wow.
Which to me is pretty wild. And yeah, when I think about like relativity and stuff, and like how unbelievably, unimaginably complex of an advancement that was at that time.
Yeah.
I have to pick him.
Yeah. No, that's cool. So who's been most influential?
I'd say personally, it definitely have to be my parents. I mean, they made sure that I was outdoors, and I mean, I was obsessed with being outside and doing stuff and catching critters. And my poor mom was pulling snakes and stuff out of my pockets, and that's like literally true. She was really doing that. And my dad like was having me out hunting and fishing all the time, and they basically fostered that. Like they could see it, and they just fostered it. In terms of professionally, it'd probably be Craig Harper. It was sort of when I was budding as a scientist that I went to work in his lab, and he's influenced most everything that I think about in nature, and from a science point of view, there's some influence from him for that. So
yeah, no, that's cool. I'm glad you share that. I think it's really cool to for those people to be able to look back and think of all the scientists that they trained and that they influenced. And I mean, like, to think that like science communication work at UF wouldn't have come from Marcus Lashley had there not been a Craig Harper or any of these people. That's pretty cool. I think that's really neat.
Or an Aldo Leopold.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. Yeah. or Albert Einstein, maybe, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
No,
It's
that's
fascinating to me how nature works, and there are these, yeah, they're all integrated, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, did we cover all the questions? I hate that I missed out on them, man. I just
I think so.
hey, you know what though? When we do
Uh,
Fireside Chats round 2, I'll make sure that they're all there, and I'll throw in some new ones too. Well, they'll all be new ones. I'm going to ask you the same questions. You know?
Yeah, because we missed some. Well, you never know. I might give you a different answer.
yeah. That's
full
true.
of surprises.
Well, this has been awesome.
I'm actually in a padded room right now. It's not because it's a studio.
Well, in full disclosure, you know, like sometimes I feel like I'm just a step away from the padded room. So, you know, I might come visit you, and you might just have to put a padlock on that studio.
Hey, I honestly feel like that often too.
Yeah.
It's like, man, like the way that I am obsessed with some of these things is really weird.
Yeah, but you know, it's cool when you can turn that into something good, because it's not always easy to do that. And I'm, you know, I definitely, you know, I'm happy with what you've achieved, just from what I've learned today, but you know, what I already knew from the podcast, and you know, seeing the, you know, kind of community that you I presumably are fostering there, you know, with your students, and you know, I don't know if you have postdocs and, you know, but your grad students and stuff. I think that's really awesome that you're showing them how important communication is, for sure.
Yeah. I think that's when they reflect on what was most important. I think that's something they commonly think about is, you know, the science communication aspect, and the fact that it's fully integrated into their program.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I like it too. Okay, well, I am going to wrap it up now. I don't have any more questions for you, and if I thought of them, they'd probably just be awful. So we probably take our leave here. And round 2 is going to be coming down the road, as long as you'll come back on.
Oh yeah, I'd be happy to.
All right,
it's all
cool.
about maybe somebody learned something that was not useless information. So that's what it's all about.
No, I definitely think some people learned something. I learned something. So hopefully there's you know, somebody out there that I know a little bit more than. So all right. Well, Marcus, it was really great to chat with you, and I'll look forward to the next time, and I'll be seeing you on the Twitter sphere and wherever else. Yeah, so keep in touch, and make sure that you send me those links and stuff too, and I'll put them in there.
For sure.
All right.
Yeah, no doubt. Happy to.
All right, cool.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I'll talk to you later. See ya. Bye.